top stories tonight. Labour insists on May 31 deadline over new minimum wage demands. Former President Goodluck Jonathan intervenes in feud between Nyesom, Wike and Governor Fubara. Federal High Court rejects IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu's fresh bail request. Niger and the US agree to complete withdrawal of troops by September 15. Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity Ezewike. Let's begin by telling you that the organized labor comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress has reiterated its May 31, 2024 ultimatum to the federal government to meet all of its demands, which includes implementation of a new national minimum wage and reversal of the hike in electricity tariff. This followed a Monday emergency meeting of the National Executive Councils of the NLC and TUC in response to the pressing national issues affecting Nigerian workers. Among the issues discussed by the labor leaders was the persisting non-compliance with the 2019 National Minimum Wage Act by some state governments. In the resolution jointly signed by NLC President Joe Ajero and TUC leader Festus Osifo, the labor unions also directed their members in Anambra State to mobilize for an industrial action in the event that the state government did not meet the demands of the workers by May 23, 2024. To update on Rivers' political crisis, former President Goodluck Jonathan has called for a truce in the Rivers State political crisis, asking Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, to work together. Jonathan made the call on Monday during the flag-off of the Trans-Calabari Road, describing the incessant battles between governors and their predecessors and the political tension in Rivers State as worrisome. To discuss this, I'm joined by Associate Professor, Public Law, Rivers State University, Richard Wokocha. Thank you very much for joining us. Jonathan has come into the fray. It's a pleasure to have you, and has said that any further escalation of the crisis would not be good for the oil-rich Rivers State. So both men have to find a way to work together for growth. Where a sitting president seems to have failed to broker peace, might a former president prevail?
Ordinarily, yes, that should have been possible. But remember that this former president has also transacted with some of the parties involved and did not have a good experience. All the same, it's a very good thing for anybody to be able to broker peace between these parties, because on the long run, Rivers State suffers for their inability to find a common ground. However, I think that peace must be built on justice and on the law. Otherwise, that peace will run the risk of running into the kind of murky waters that we have run into in Rivers State now. There is nothing difficult about officers, public officers, performing their functions and focusing on their functions. There is no room. I do not see how it is an option that an unconstitutional interest should become a subject of negotiation between the constitutional state and such interest. So I think we need to find peace that enables parties to respect themselves and that is built around the law.
Prof, there is something else he talked about that I'd like your thoughts on. He tried to emphasize the importance. He even described Rivers as the center of Niger Delta and critical to Nigeria. And he said that destabilizing the state would have adverse impact, not only for the region, but for the country at large. Do you share his concerns about the place of Rivers in national development and the urgency for an end to this crisis? Okay, I think we're having a bit of a network challenge there. Prof, if you can hear me, could you speak up? Okay, I think the network is acting up. We'll try and reconnect with the prof in the course of the bulletin or subsequently. To stay with us. Reconciliation moves by the leadership of the All Progressive Congress, APC, to persuade one of the governorship aspirants of the party in a just concluded primary in Ondo State, Jimoh Ibrahim, may have hit the rocks. The aspirant has pointedly told the committee members who visited his Asokoro residence in Abuja to allow the court to decide the matter as regards the April 20 governorship primary election in the state. Recall that Jimoh had approached the Federal High Court in Abuja to invalidate the outcome of the primary election that produced Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa as a candidate. Alternatively, Jimoh asked the court to remove APC from the ballot on November 16 governorship election. All right, I understand we have the professor back. Prof, if you can hear me, could you acknowledge? Let's just be sure you can hear me.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, fingers crossed the network will play positive for us. I was asking you before we went on, did you get my question first?
Yes, I did.
Okay, go ahead and then respond.
So I was saying, geographically, Rivers State lies at the middle of the Niger Delta. The states that make up the Niger Delta. Delta and Bayelsa to one side, Akwa Ibom and Cross River to the other side. So yes, Rivers State is at the center. But Rivers State also lies at the heart of the economy of this country because the quantity of contribution that Rivers State makes to the economy of Nigeria is such that will definitely impact seriously the economy of Nigeria should Rivers State go up in smokes. So Jonathan is completely right. Former President Jonathan is completely right. And anyone who knows the truth will agree with you that if Rivers State goes down, Nigeria is in trouble.
That's a scary scenario. But, I mean, we have conversations and we hear there are no permanent enemies in politics. So I would ask you, as a professor of law and somebody who has been looking at the situation, what likely scenarios are there for a possible end to this crisis? Do we even know what the real issues are?
Yes. I think we can guess what the real issues are. You have a change of government. I think problem began with the old government constituting the cabinet in government, it is left to be conclusively decided from the moment the government IGR depletion. The House of Assembly immediately came up with the program to impeach him, and there was the accusation that he was tampering with the structure that produced him, and he was dealing with people who were not part of the structure. So even if they are not in black and white, the sequence of events indicate that it has something to do with an attempt to rein in on leakages on state IGR and displeasure on the part of those who control the assembly. That is being done, and that the of the structure, the source of maintaining, I think that's primarily, and there was no other.
Prof, we're actually struggling. We're really struggling to hear you. I'm afraid we'll have to terminate the interview. I'm hoping we could have you in a better on a better network subsequently. Let's move a little away from politics and bring you updates as well from the ongoing case with the IPOB leader. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has been denied bail by the Federal High Court in Abuja following the resumption of his bail application hearing. The trial judge, Justice Binta Iyako, maintained that Kanu had previously jumped an initial bail granted him by the court, a situation authenticated by his shorties who had told the court that they were unaware of his whereabouts. Amadine Uyi reports.
The trial resumed at the Federal High Court in Abuja, with the controversial leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra in attendance. The court had listened to the applications submitted by the counsels to Kanu, requesting for bail. This was, however, turned down.
She denied 2 applications. One is to restore his bail, and the other one is an alternative application. If you won't restore his bail, then transfer him to home detention. These 2 applications were geared towards providing the environment for him to get a fair trial. Unfortunately, the court was not in sync with us.
The court also reviewed the conditions for detention at the DSS facility, requesting for more privacy between the counsels and their clients.
We're going to go home as a legal team and ruminate over this and come out with a legal response to this anomaly. The court made some order that he felt is in our favor, but really it's not in our favor. He made modifications in the conditions of the detention at the DSS. If you recall, they used to take documents from us. They used to listen in because they bugged the place and everything. She made an order that the room should be changed and all that.
This issue of bugging is a very critical and technical thing. And we know that the Nigerian DSS is about the most sophisticated secret police in the whole of Africa. And they have a lot of equipment. The walls, inside the bricks of their building has chips, microphones, cameras, inside the walls of their building. So there is no how the court has made it that they should give us a clean room. Who determines the cleanness of the room?
An enraged Kanu after the trial expressed disappointment at the position of the trial judge, saying the whole case is a sham and an infringement of his constitutional rights.
I did not jump bail. My home was invaded. They came to kill me and I survived. They came to Kenya to kidnap me, brought me back to this country and seeking to try me, which the law says cannot happen. Any treaty ratified by Nigeria becomes law. It's law. You cannot change it. It doesn't matter what they do. All these shenanigans is just pure rubbish.
Now is the time for Nigeria to begin to bind the wounds of division. So I am therefore using this opportunity to appeal to our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to address some certain mistakes and missteps of the past.
The trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, maintains that Kanu jumped his earlier bail, thus is not eligible for a fresh bail. She says this was authenticated by his shorties, who claim that they did not know his whereabouts. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Armed soldiers have denied traders and artisans at the popular Banex Plaza in Abuja access to their shops and business premises in reaction to a clash over the weekend which saw a mob of traders and artisans beat up 4 soldiers. News Centre's Emmanuel Bagudu visited the scene and tells us more.
Traders and artisans at the plaza attacked 4 army personnel, beating them to stupor over disagreements surrounding the return of an iPhone. In a swift reaction to the event, the army sealed off shops and spaces at the plaza, stopping the traders and artisans from conducting their businesses.
People are walking to and fro, not doing anything. Especially the plaza helps a lot of youths. It helps them not to go into crime. The businesses going on inside the plaza helps guys not to go into crime. There are a lot of things that the plaza is helping a lot of guys to do.
On Saturday, a military man came to buy something in our plaza. I don't really know what happened, but when I first saw the man said the phone they sold to him is not good. In the process of changing the phone, they had an argument with a shop owner and they started fighting and they beat the military man. The military man went back and packed his gang and came. Now the plaza is closed, nothing is moving, everywhere is stuck down.
They say the action by the army is now affecting them as they can no longer conduct their businesses as normal.
Yeah, it's where I'm getting my food to eat. I get money to feed myself, feed my family. But right now, everywhere is shut down. I pray made everything settle.
Both the old banners that is not even involved, that's not where it even happened. It happened at the new banners, but they've shut even the old banners down. So, but you know, I'm blaming the people of the banners for beating a military. You don't touch military.
I don't have anywhere to sell or do my business again because the plaza is shut down.
While government is grappling with the reality of unemployment in the country, it is expected that FCT administration will nip the issue in the bud and return these youths back to their sources of income for peace to continue to reign in the FCT. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Emmanuel Bagudu.
The convoy of Sheriff Fubara, governor of Delta State, South Nigeria, has been involved in an auto accident. The incident occurred on Monday evening when the convoy is suspected to have been returning from Warri to Asaba. Immediately after the Federal College of Education Technical Ibusa Road, opposite the GSM Steel Company in Asaba. No casualty was recorded, but a source informed newsmen that some persons were injured, including one of the orderlies and the driver. An eyewitness who pleaded anonymity said the cause of the accident was as a result of a burst tire while on motion. Coming up, Tinubu world leaders mourn Iran's late President Ibrahim Raisi. We will bring you details of this and other stories after the break. Stay with us. If you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. Labour insists on May 31 deadline over new minimum wage demands. Former President Goodluck Jonathan intervenes in feud between Nyesom, Wike and Governor Fubara. Federal High Court rejects IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu's fresh bail request. Niger and the US agree to a complete withdrawal of troops by September 15. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has joined other world leaders to pay tributes following the fatal helicopter crash that killed Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and the country's foreign minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian. A total of 9 people were on board the aircraft that crashed in a mountainous region of the country on Sunday. Since the confirmation of their deaths, leaders across the globe have sent their condolence messages to the Iranian people. In a statement on Monday, the presidential spokesman, Ajirin Galale, said his principal extends his condolences to the people of Iran over the accident. President Tinubu expressed his profound grief over this tragedy and described President Raisi as a leader who is passionately committed to the development of Iran. Significant strides have been made in addressing gender disparities by empowering girls, but there are growing concerns that boys are being neglected. According to Boys Without Borders, a boy-child advocacy organization, the neglect of boys makes them susceptible to abuse, even by family members, relatives, or close family friends, and the abuse they suffer affects them for years. News Center's Bettina Uweli reports.
In the vibrant heart of Nigeria, a silent crisis is unfolding. While the empowerment of the girl child has rightly gained momentum, the boy child is increasingly being overlooked. This negligence is not just a silent tragedy, it may be a catalyst for increasing insecurity. In the quest for gender equality, educational initiatives often prioritize girls, sometimes at the expense of boys. This imbalance is evident in many Nigerian classrooms where boys are left feeling neglected and unsupported. Outside the classroom, the situation worsens. Economic hardships force many young boys into child labor, street hawking, and even criminal activities. The lack of positive engagement and role models leaves them vulnerable.
The boy child is not neglected as such. The fact is that there has been too much indulgence. And so there's that indulgence, and then too much freedom given to the child, and sometimes also too much expectations on the boy child. Men are shamed when they say they are not sexually active. If a man says that no, he doesn't want to be sexually. Meanwhile, women are praised for that, but the boy child is shamed, or the teenager, or young man is shamed for that.
The absence of support systems for boys is creating a generation at risk. Without proper guidance, these boys are susceptible to negative influences including gang involvement and radicalization. Stakeholders highlight the correlation between the neglect of the boy child and the rise in social vices.
If you change the dynamics of education, one thing you will get from that is positive masculinity. If you start to teach a young man what we would consider a paradigm shift from the theories of the past, helping them to understand that first you are responsible for you, you're responsible for your family, and you're responsible for a nation. What we do today is teach accountability, not responsibility. We're not teaching young men to be responsible for themselves, from their personal hygiene to the food, their environment, and over time, it gradually leads young men into frustration. And that's how other young people have been cashing upon, recruited into terrorist gangs, some were brainwashed into IPOB, some were brainwashed into ESN, some would do whatever, but there's none of these vices that doesn't come from a place of loneliness.
The boy child is not a problem to be solved, but a potential to be nurtured. By addressing their unique needs and challenges, Nigeria can build a more secure and prosperous future for all. The plight of the boy child is indeed a pressing issue that calls for immediate attention. As we continue to strive for gender equality, it is important to ensure that no child is left behind. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Founder, Boys Quarters Africa, Solomon Ayodele joins us now for a conversation about the boy child. Thank you very much for giving us your time. How can societal perceptions of masculinity be transformed to create more inclusive environments where boys feel comfortable expressing their emotions, very important, and seeking help for mental health issues?
Thank you very much. A very fantastic question. I would say, based on my experience and based on the things I've seen as a boy child advocate, a couple of things off the top of my mind. I would say, number one, education and awareness campaign. We need to begin to relook our schools and educational programs where we can integrate emotional intelligence and mental health education for boys, most importantly. Aside this, I think it's important for us to begin to also push positive role models, right? Where we can encourage public figures, celebrities, athletes to share their experiences with mental health and emotional vulnerability. I think their influence can help shift public perception and provide some sort of relatable role models for boys. Apart from that, I also feel there's some sort of work that needs to be done around parental and caregiver involvement, right? We need to provide workshops, resources for parents to help support their sons in expressing their emotions and seeking help, right? And I think most importantly, we need to begin to look at the policy and institutional angle to it, right? What are the mental health policies? What are the workplace initiatives, especially as it relates to boys and men, right? So for example, people need to realize that abuse is abuse, irrespective of the gender. And I think on the final note, there's a need for us to begin to challenge the stereotypes and the norms, right? There's a need for cultural shifts where we need to begin to see men differently, see boys differently. And I think with some of those things, we can have steady progress when it comes to conversation with mental health.
Quickly, talk to us about some of these misconceptions or stereotypes about boys that needs to be challenged.
Thank you. In my work in the last 4 years as a boy child advocate, I've engaged roughly over 50,000 boys across tons of states in Nigeria. And I'll say, number one, people believe boys don't cry, right? It's a big misconception. Boys are often taught that expressing emotion, especially crying, is a sign of weakness. People believe boys must be tough, right? People believe boys must be naturally aggressive. There's a misconception too that boys should excel in sports, right? It's a societal expectation that I call a gender box, right? And what it does is that it invalidates the interest and talents of some of these young boys. Also, people believe boys are not nurturing, right? Boys are often believed to be less nurturing, to be less caring than girls. People believe boys shouldn't do pink, boys shouldn't play with toys. I don't think toys and activities should be gendered, so to say. So boys are discouraged from playing with dolls or encouraging them to engage in activities, right, that are considered feminine. And I think 2 or 3 other things that I feel they're like stereotypes around boys being brought up in a place where they are less affected by mental health issues. So when a young boy falls, people will say, "Can you stand up? Don't be like a girl." But when a girl falls, they would say, "Oh, stand up, let's take care of you," and all of that. And I think on the final note, there's a misconception that boys are men. Boys are not men. So boys should not be seen as being independent. Boys are often encouraged to be self-reliant, to be self-independent, as a point of just avoiding help and collaboration. So I think some of these things are layered around our culture in Africa, and it's also a global issue. And I think on the final note, there's a misconception that boys don't require emotional support. Boys are often perceived as needing less emotional support than girls. And this is why we have a lot of men who die at the age of 20, but they are buried at the age of 70 because they are not getting that emotional support, that help, that love, that attention they need whilst growing up as a young boy.
I just imagined what you said. You die at 20 and you're buried at 70. Quite deep. Talk to us about the role of families, communities, and educational institutions. What role do they play in promoting positive masculinity and preventing violence as well as exploitation of boys?
Fantastic. So I'll start from a very practical example. At Boys Quarters, we run a campaign called Boys 2, where we go around schools across the country saying that abuse is abuse, irrespective of the gender. So aside that, we try to train parents, we try to talk to their teachers. But from a family point of view, there are a couple of things we need to pay attention to. Number one, there's a need to start modeling behaviors, right? Parents need to realize that they are like the role model. So parents need to begin to model positive masculinity by demonstrating things as little as empathy, as emotional openness, as respective relationship. And, fathers in particular, you cannot take out the roles of fathers when it comes to raising better boys into becoming men. And I think also another major part families and societies can play is around open communication, right? And this comes around emotional literacy. For us as men, right, I wasn't taught, I wasn't raised to express myself. I wasn't raised to speak out. So when you're talking too much as a man, you are said, why are you talking like a woman, right? So we need to teach and model open communication from the families, from, the society. And I think number 3 is we need to begin to deliberately challenge stereotypes. We need to begin to break the norm, right? So we need to actively start challenging traditional gender roles and stereotypes within our household. So nobody should say a boy cannot sweep. A boy should lay his bed. A boy should hug the mom. A boy should treat the girl properly, right? A community of people to raise boys, right? It is easier, to say, it is the responsibility of the father and the mother to raise a better boy, but it is the responsibility of the community to reflect what it means to grow up as an healthy man. So what are the things community needs to do? So number 1, celebrities, I already mentioned leaders, religious leaders. I also feel like we need to begin to create community programs. So I see, for example, the World Boy Child Day as a day of just arousing emotions once in a year, right? So even if you go to churches, you would find 52 programs for women, 52 weeks in a year, but you would find one Sunday talk about inadequacies of men.
Right.
So we need to begin to organize events where boys can be spoken to and help become better people.
I wish we had more time, Solomon, but we'll have to pause it here. You've had some gentlemen applauding your comments on our live YouTube page. So I guess this is an important conversation that needs to be had. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for.
Global banking brand United Bank for Africa kicked off the celebration of its 75th anniversary with a global press conference to inform its customers, shareholders and partners of its achievement in the past 75 years and what lies ahead. News Centre's business correspondent, Perpetua Fasomi Peter, is one of the attendees at the headquarters in Lagos. Here's the report.
United Bank for Africa, UBA, known as Africa's Global Bank, held a global press conference to mark the beginning of a year-long celebration of its 75th anniversary.
This anniversary is very dear to us here in UBA, as it not only marks our legacy, but signifies our transformation journey from being British and French bank established in 1949 to becoming the leading financial services institution in Africa, tagged Africa's Global Bank. And over the past 75 years, we have exemplified stability, reliability, and excellence in banking.
Speaking at the event, the Group Managing Director and CEO of the bank described UBA's journey in the past 75 years as one that has been powered by dedication, innovations, and partnerships.
Our splendid performance, especially within the last 1 year, is a testament to our robust fundamentals. Looking ahead, UBA is one bank, uniting Africa and connecting Africans to the world and the world to Africa. Our primary focus is to be the payment bank for capital flows, trade and investment between Africa and the rest of the world. Collaborations and partnerships are exemplified by the recently signed agreement that we had with African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, where UBA is putting forward $6 billion for SME funding for Africans.
Journalists at the press conference also raised pertinent questions, to which answers were provided.
What we have done across Africa is to ensure that we have that technology that connects one country to another. You can, with UBA technology, you can transfer money from Togo to Ghana, from Ghana to Kenya, without not coming into the banking hall. So we have done that with technology. And in terms of fraud, too, one of the things we have also done is that as we empower customers, we also show that we have that underlying technology that will prevent customers from losing funds. Today, UBA is a safe haven for customers' funds.
We saw that bank balance sheets witnessed significant accretion in terms of reporting in Naira. That was one-off. I don't think we will continue to see that kind of jumbo windfall going forward. So UBA will continue to enjoy significant growth in earnings in spite of the fact that the FX windfalls will not happen.
Other events lined up for the bank's Diamond Jubilee celebration include the launch of its documentary, an online hackathon, and 75 legacy promos, while the grand finale will take place in November. Perpetua Fasomi Peter reporting for News Central.
Still ahead, Niger, US agree to a complete withdrawal of troops by September 15. We'll tell you all about that and more when we return. Stay with us, please. Thank you for staying with us. The news continues in West Africa, where Niger and the United States have announced they had reached a disengagement agreement with the reading of the joint statement and aired on Niger's public television, which also showed members of the U.S. and Niger military meeting. Director of External Relations and Military Cooperation for Niger said it is therefore agreed that the withdrawal will end on September 15, 2024, at the latest. However, both sides added that the withdrawal would not affect ties relating to development in Niger. Niger had been a key partner for the U.S. in combating insurgents in the Sahel region who have caused significant loss of life and displacement. Let's join our business desk for today's news.
Business News in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
On Business Tonight, the Debt Management Office has sought the support of primary dealer market makers to raise financing for Nigeria's domestic debt repayment. This was noted in a meeting on Monday in Lagos with the primary dealer market makers in the Nigerian securities market. Patience Oniha, Director General, Debt Management Office, noted that the meeting continued from a previous strategic meeting in which the federal government's borrowing plan had been outlined. She also noted that the DMO had raised part of the finance for both the domestic debt and ways and means borrowing, which they intended to complete. New domestic borrowing in the 2024 budget of 6 trillion naira has been reduced to 4.5 trillion naira, and out of the 7.3 trillion naira that the National Assembly approved for securitization, 4.905 trillion naira has been raised. Away from that, Ivory Coast, the world's leading cocoa producer, has become the best-rated sovereign in sub-Saharan Africa, with foreign debt outstanding surpassing South Africa. Both nations were rated BB by S&P Global Ratings, but Ivory Coast's outlook was upgraded to positive due to improving debt profile, while South Africa's outlook remained stable. The yield on Ivory Coast's debt maturing in 2028 dropped 13 basis points to 7.09% as of noon in London on Monday, the lowest since April 15. South Africa's dollar debt due in 2030 had a yield of 6.9%, down from over 8.5% in October. Samed Gadio, head of Africa strategy at Standard Chartered, noted Ivory Coast's impressive rating trajectory over the past decade, reflecting its economic turnaround, while many other African nations have faced downgrades. Now, the Finance Bill 2024 in Kenya faces opposition from industry players, including the Edible Oil Manufacturers Association of Kenya, Associated Battery Manufacturers, Kenya Bankers Association, Association of Kenya Insurers, and Digital Lenders. The tax, which would impose 25% excise duty on vegetable oils, could lead to a significant increase in cooking oil prices, making it unaffordable for many Kenyan households. The Edible Oil Manufacturers Association highlighted that the excise duty would have a cascading effect on other essential products. They project that the price of a standard loaf of bread, that's about 400 grams, could rise from 70 Kenyan shillings to about 80 Kenyan shillings. A long bar of soap from 180 Kenyan shillings to about 270 Kenyan shillings. And margarine, that's of the 250 gram category, from 160 Kenyan shillings to 300 Kenyan shillings. This would significantly impact the cost of living for millions of Kenyans. And that's all on Business News. We still have more stories to come your way. To stay with us, I am Lekon Onobanjo.
Business News in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money. Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
In sports, Team Nigeria boxers have arrived in Bangkok, Thailand, ahead of the second World Qualification Tournament scheduled for 24th of May, 23rd of June 2024. The Nigerian contingent had departed Lagos on Sunday evening via Turkey, Istanbul, with a team consisting 5 boxers, 1 male and 4 female, and 2 coaches to the event. UK-based Elizabeth Oshogba, 57 kg, and Patricia Mbata, 75 kg, will join the team in Thailand. 51 remaining Paris 2024 Olympic places, 23 for women and 28 for men, will be up for grabs across 13 weight categories, 6 for women and 7 for men in the qualifying. The team is headed by coach Anthony Konyegwachi and Olusegun Ajose. Away from boxing to football, Messi Timi's late strike secured a crucial win for Bayelsa Queens against Nasarawa Amazons on day 2 of the Nigeria Women Football League Super 6 playoffs. Puts Bayelsa Queens firmly back in the title race. They now have 4 points after 2 matches. In the other game, Rivers Angels handed high-flying Edo Queens a 2-1 defeat, earning a 2 million naira bonus in the process from Rivers State Commissioner for Sports Chris Green on Monday afternoon. Florence Alexander opened the scoring for the Angels in the 11th minute, and just before half-hour mark, an own goal from Valentina Oroko doubled the Angels' advantage. MMSCN did manage to pull one back for the Queens just before halftime, but it proved to be too little too late as the Angels held firm for a win. And now to football in Europe. Croatia coach Zlatko Dalic announced Monday a preliminary 26-man squad for Euro 2024 to be led by veteran captain Luka Modric in what is likely to be his last major tournament before retirement from international football. The 38-year-old Real Madrid midfielder, who is poised to depart at the end of the season, led Croatia to a historic second-place finish at the 2018 World Cup. Modric also led Croatia to third place at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar and last year lost to Spain in the Nations League final. Croatia plays Spain in their opening Group B match on June 15th before facing Albania and current European champions Italy. And to wrap up sports update, Feyenoord boss Arne Slot has been confirmed as Liverpool's new manager. The Reds agreed a compensation deal worth £9.4 million with the Dutch club in April after the 45-year-old was identified as the man to succeed Jurgen Klopp at Anfield. Klopp, who had been in charge of Liverpool since October 2015, left the club following the season final win against Wolverhampton Wanderers on Sunday. Slot will officially start at Liverpool on the 1st of June, subject to a work permit. The Dutchman led Feyenoord to the 2022-23 Eredivisie title, while this season they have won the Dutch Cup and finished second in the league. Slot had previously been approached by Tottenham, Chelsea and Leeds. He signed a new contract last May to keep him at Feyenoord until 2026, but had referenced a desire to make the next step in his career. Interesting times ahead for the Reds. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. I am Favor Itua. Up next is entertainment.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile. Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Star Burna Boy ventures into film as an executive producer, co-producing the upcoming thriller 3 Cold Dishes. The film, tackling the story of 3 former sex trafficking victims turned powerful figures in the underground world, will be produced by Spaceship Films, Burna Boy's production company. Directed by award-winning filmmaker Asof Oluseyi, the movie promises to be a testament to resilience, featuring a stellar cast from Nollywood and beyond. 3 Cold Dishes is part of Black Mike Mac's ambitious slate, showcasing diverse African storytelling with a dozen projects in the works. Black Mike Mac's aim to solidify its position as a powerhouse in the African film industry. I'd like to say big congratulations to Burna Boy. I mean, we first saw Tiwa did it, and now Burna Boy is going into film making. I can't wait to see what this venture is going to look like. Moving away from the continent, 2 days after a video surfaced on May 17th showing Sin Diddy Combs beating his former girlfriend Cassie, former rapper and current Belize opposition leader Shine Barrow publicly condemned his former co-defendant's action. Barrow, who was involved in a 1999 shooting incident with Diddy, resulting in his own 10-year prison sentence and subsequent deportation to Belize, announced the behavior on Instagram. He stated, "I vehemently denounce the repugnant behavior of Sin Diddy Combs captured on the video in which he is seen physically assaulting Mrs. Cassie Ventura Fine. Barrow added that violence against women is unacceptable and expressed support for Cassie and other victims. And that's how I wrap up entertainment news tonight. We'll go on a short break and return with the latest on what's trending tonight.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Now, moving away from entertainment news, in today's trending stories, a disturbing video emerged showing a heated argument between two teenage girls at a school compound, escalating into a violent fight. Now, one girl fell between two chairs, resulting in a severe neck injury. Initial reports claimed that she had died, but new information on social media indicates that she is receiving treatments and is in a stable condition. Now, unfortunately, such incidents are not uncommon among teenagers, especially on school premises. Here's how Nigerians have reacted to this story on X. Let's take a look. Ibeji is saying, "This is so sad. I'm glad to know that she survived, but schools need to do more as regards monitoring the activities of their students whenever they are within the school premises." Kenny is saying, "My anger is with those other kids looking at them and even recording it without separating them." Now, here's another tweet from Nicole saying, "Teach your kids not to fight no matter how they are provoked." Jay in response is saying, "You say what? Maybe now why our lives dey like this, Sha. Fighting for survival is part of the circle of life. I would rather advise they pick their fights wisely. Also, teach them how to defend themselves against bullies, plus try to get small money to defend them if anything's up." You know, first of all, we've heard of stories of students being bullied in school, but this is the case of two teenage girls fighting, engaging in a fight in the school premises, and one would wonder, where are the class reps? Where are the teachers? Where are the principals? I mean, where are they when things like this happen? We want to hear your thoughts on this matter. Share your thoughts. Join us in the conversation across our social media platforms at News Central TV. That's all on What's Trending Tonight. I'm Jadel Simon.
And that's all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the big stories. Organized labor has insisted on May 31 deadline over new minimum wage demands. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has intervened in feud between Nyesom, Wike and Governor Fubara. Federal High Court has rejected IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu's fresh bail request. We also brought you news that Niger and the US have agreed to a complete withdrawal of troops by September 15. Do send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen, or you could follow us on socials. That's at News Central TV. You can watch live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.